What a 12 months it's been. And for most of the world, they're still digging out and finally seeing a light at the end of the tunnel. Yet for those of us in the world of e-commerce, it's been a sea change across all channels and platforms. Websites, mobile, B2C, B2B, hybrids of B2C and B2B, online physical hybrids, social selling, all have grown exponentially. I just saw a thing yesterday that people are now renting apartments via TikTok. And that includes Amazon, which posted 40% growth last year, $386 billion in GMV. A huge cultural and financial change from COVID, and e-commerce is the one bright spot. With the whole industry rising, begs the question, is Amazon the same dragon we feared in 2019? Merchants need to take a new look at Amazon. Why do you use it today? Fear it, love it, ignore it. There are bigger and deeper questions about facing the unknown. And so to unpack these questions, I'm going to introduce Tim Jordan, the host of the AM/PM podcast, a very successful entrepreneur, Amazon expert par excellence, inspiring adventurer, and all-around successful e-commerce entrepreneur. Welcome to Dragonproof. Tim, welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me on.
So is building a sales strategy on Amazon in 2021 similar to investing in Bitcoin the day after it hits an all-time high?
It depends on what you sell, I think. Like the Bitcoin guys were trying to sell masks in April of 2020 on Amazon.
I'm pretty sure everyone on Earth is trying to sell masks in April of 2020.
Right? I actually know a guy who made a ridiculous amount of money arbitraging Tyvek suits.
Oh, wow.
Right? And he was buying them from Uline by the truckload and was selling them on Amazon and shipping them out. And it's curious because Amazon's the only place you could have done that. It would have been hard to set up a funnel that quickly and go to market immediately and have the traffic. But Tyvek suits. Now, he still has a warehouse full of Tyvek suits that he's stuck with because once Amazon suspended him, for not being an authorized dealer of PPE. So like Amazon, you were talking about, should we fear it? Should we love it? I think it's like a fearful respect. It's amazing in some ways, terrifying in others, but it's definitely not something you could ignore.
Now, where do you view Amazon in the e-commerce cycle? Is it still as big as it is a ground floor opportunity?
I think that, yes, if you know what you're doing. It's not 2015. I started selling in Amazon in 2015 by accident. I actually had some amazing wholesale supply chain stuff with some government contracts. Believe it or not, I was selling fuel and like oil filters to the U.S. government in Iraq and Afghanistan, of all things.
I mean, are you like Yonah Hill and War Dogs?
I tell people I was War Dogs, but not weapons.
Okay.
So like where he was doing weapons,
I
was
selling
doing
tanks.
Diesel generators from England, Russian dump truck tires from Moscow, and like fuel and oil filtration from the U.S. It was crazy. But I had all of these crazy wholesale catalogs essentially, and looked online and said, man, these things are $30 on Amazon, and they're $4 on my wholesale price list. And I thought to myself, well, I can't sell on Amazon, but I can sell on eBay. So I put a Craigslist ad out for someone to teach me how to sell on eBay. I expected like a college-age kid to walk in. Instead, it was a 65-year-old bald guy, walks in, looks at my catalog, says, you need to sell on Amazon. In 7 months, we had our first $1 million in sales. Now, back then, it was also easy to launch your own brands and products. It was the Wild West. It's massively changed. So to go back to answer your question, is it still like the ground floor opportunity? Doing it the way that it worked a few years ago, no, you'll get crushed.
Yep.
But using new techniques, new methods for finding products, being first to market, utilizing like legitimate branding, it absolutely needs to be in your e-commerce ecosystem, so to speak.
So you're still really bullish on Amazon?
I'm bullish on Amazon with the idea of being platform agnostic.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, and obviously we've talked about that, and I agree with that. Do you consider that success you had that first 7 months to $1 million on Amazon? I mean, are you an outlier, or is that something that obviously you're a smart and skilled guy, but is that something that anyone can do?
I think that a few years ago anyone could do it easily. I think today most people can do it, but it's going to take more time, more education, more resources, more savvy, if that makes sense. So it is still an incredible opportunity, but not quite as easy as it used to be, which isn't a terrible thing either.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, look, you and I have a mutual friend in Robbie Stanley, right? And so Robbie, for those listening, he's been a guest on the podcast before. I've been on his podcast. I wouldn't be surprised if he's been on Tim's podcast. It's podcast love-a-thon over here. But Robbie he was an early mover on a lot of channels, eBay, Amazon, and his own independent website. Started out selling iPhone screens and Amazon screens and iPad screens, and then went into importing all sorts of. I would go to his warehouse in San Diego and see the most bizarre stuff, but you know what? There was a market for it, whether it was a book safe or cheap batteries or some games I had never heard of that kids were really into that were exploding on TikTok. Who knows? But, my conventional e-commerce customers still see Amazon as a threat. What would you say to them?
I was actually in Miami last week, and I was meeting with a really large B2C brand, Shopify Plus. No offense to Miva,
Yeah,
but
that's fine.
they're doing this year. Last year, I'm sorry, they did 30 million in revenue. This year, they plan to do 50 million, and they are vehemently against Amazon. They hate it, and I said, well, why? Why do you hate Amazon? Well, they gave me the typical things. Well, if my sales are on Amazon, then I can't collect the customer data. I can't track them. They're not my customer. They're Amazon's customer. I tell people like selling on Amazon is kind of like having your stuff on a Walmart shelf, right? They're still Walmart's customers. Walmart's offering the shelf space. They're providing the traffic, all that good stuff. And I said, well, okay, I understand that. But what about just additional sales on Amazon? And he started off with Amazon will dilute my brand, which I actually disagree with. I think
Yeah,
that
I
people just
disagree with that
Amazon.
too.
Yeah, it doesn't dilute your brand. And what I realized was this guy is just scared to death of Amazon because it's so different than what he's used to. When you're running an independent e-commerce website, you understand traffic, you understand logistics, all this stuff, and Amazon's completely separate. But like I'm screaming to this guy, you're crazy if you don't also sell on Amazon because they have the hundreds of millions of users. Like, why wouldn't you also do it? I feel like you're leaving money on the table. Now, some of the reasons that people like fear Amazon are legitimate, but I think that we hear the horror stories. We hear of the few, instances where there's a problem. And a lot of those problems actually come from dependence on Amazon. I know of businesses that were wrecked because Amazon arbitrarily suspended them or some black hat malicious attack happened. But if you've got a D2C brand and you're not utilizing, I won't even say Amazon, if you're not utilizing platforms, if you're
Yep.
not on Catch in Australia, if you're not in all these other different places, I think you're leaving money on the table because it is the equivalent of, your D2C brand is having a store in, the main strip of town. People come into your store and see your brand. But man, if Kohl's or JC Penney or whoever comes in and says, we want to put your stuff on our shelf, would you say no? Probably not, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. I couldn't agree with you more. And the question I have for you, since even though that customer is on Shopify Plus, that sounds like not every, but that sounds like a lot of our customers. And
Yep.
so, if someone like that hired you to coach them, let's assume we can get them over their fears of the dragon. What are the actual barriers? What do they need to solve to embrace Amazon or any marketplace, really? Like, how do they have to view that stuff?
Well, I think you need to understand that it's not as simple as the educators want you to think. We Google how to sell on Amazon, how to sell on Walmart, whatever it is. And Walmart, by the way, is a huge one. If you're not paying attention to Walmart, you need to start paying attention to Walmart. But I think that the education and the marketing material has to make it sound easy, or they're not going to sell their course, they're not going to sell
Yep.
their coaching, anything like that. So one of the biggest things you have to understand is this is not a point and click. To sell on Amazon or to sell on Walmart or any of these marketplaces, you're not selling a product, you're selling a keyword, right? Keyword and relevancy and keyword positioning is what matters. Their advertising system is different. Their branding systems are different. So don't go into it lightly, because what I see a lot of D2C brands doing is they say, oh, I'm going to list my stuff on Amazon. And it's just a dumpster fire because they didn't know 10% of what they needed to know.
Yep.
They've got the resources. They could have done it well, but they went in too light. They didn't figure it out. And then they're
How do you?
discouraged and they walk away.
I mean, they've got to cover everything from the fees and understanding their fees, so their margins work, and how to attract an audience against lookalike products, and the
Yep.
limited UI you have on changing things on Amazon, all that stuff, right? And then
Yep.
not even getting into the black hat stuff and the bad reviews and the fake
Yep.
shit in FBA. So how would you tell someone, like, let's take your $30 million Miami person? What would you tell them? Would you tell them to hire a consultant? Like, how would you suggest they gain that expertise?
Well, finding somebody that's really good for hire is tough, because
Yeah,
if
that's
you're
true.
really good,
You're doing it.
they're probably doing it for themselves, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think there's two paths to go. One path is an agency, and agencies are not cheap, but if you hire a good agency, you can't afford not to have them, right? So this agency is going to be, large staffing. They can handle everything with the customer service, and understand that you're going to split the profit with them. If they're charging you, 15% of revenue, and you've got, a 30% profit margin, they might even be taking a little bit more than half, but all you're doing is throw an inventory in the game and they handle all of it. It's not a bad deal. And the way I see the agencies working in the world is they will get you going, they'll get you some traction, and then you will slowly extricate yourself from the dependence on the agency by hiring in-house.
Yep.
The second thing is go find a 22-year-old college, dropout that is selling well on Amazon, and you can find them in the Facebook groups, the Amazon selling Facebook groups, the kids that come in and provide legitimate information, and get on a call with them and find out what happened. And they'll say, well, I know how to do research. I know how to do this. I don't know how to run a business, or I don't have any capital to get started, right? These kids are cheap. I sat at a IRCE in Chicago
Yep.
back when we had trade shows a couple years ago, and I'm sitting at this random table, lunch table. This guy starts talking to me, and Amazon. He's asking me these questions. I've just thrown out information. This is before I'd become like an Amazon influencer, and I was just telling him my experience. And this guy was just enthralled. He said, "Are you looking for a job?" I said, "No, I'm not really looking for a job." He said, "Oh my God, I want to hire you." Well, who are you? He hands me his card. He is the vice president of Mars Corporation,
The candy
in
company?
charge of. Well, you think it's candy. They own everything. So they are the largest brand holder of pet food products
Oh,
in
wow.
the world. And his division is pet food. They own everything, like from Purina and Dog Chow and like all the Blue Buffalo and everything, right? And literally he said, we started an Amazon team. He said, I hired 6 MBAs from Ivy League schools. We've been going at it for 9 months. We cannot get any sales on Amazon. And I said, dude, I could do it in like 3 months, but I don't want to because I have my own brands, right? But like guys like him, I would tell either hire an agency or go find someone that is young, that's eager, that you can pay them $80,000 and they feel like they're winning at the world. But don't try to hire a team of business people because it's a completely different ecosystem that's going to take them forever to figure it out.
Look, I can speak on behalf of myself and Miva that we are huge fans at Miva, and this probably emanates from me personally, of building talent, right? So there's nothing, I look at our current VP of product, Brennan Heidi. He wasn't a college dropout. He has a computer science degree, but I think I found him when he was 23, 24, and he's been with me for 11 years now. And I totally agree with that. That is fantastic business wisdom. Go out, look for that spark in their eye, that hunger, and they just need some mentorship. And especially if your mentorship can pair up with that, it's a great way to really build unique institutional knowledge for you and your brand and your company. So transition a little bit with me. What does conventional e-commerce mean in the new omni-channel world?
That's a really big question.
Sorry about throwing you a fat one. So
I know. So give me a little more context of the question.
Well, so everyone needs to diversify. So you're talking about someone who's a big D2C brand and they're afraid of marketplaces, right? And then, you've got, like you said, if you could suddenly be on Kohl's or if you could be on Walmart shelves or Walmart.com, and this is something that we preach too, or that I preach, right? That, if you're 100% on Amazon, then I agree. You're setting yourself up for one day waking up and not having any sales because Amazon shut you down for some reason. You might have done something wrong, but you might have just had someone attack you, right? But I also encourage, if you're 0% on Amazon, you're missing out on 40% of your sales, right? That's kind of the way I've always viewed it. So where the old categories are morphing, and your whole resume is loaded with unique experiences of everything from your wholesale channels to pushing out to Amazon to those kind of things. How do you see the need to play in what I'll call every marketplace?
I don't think you need to focus on every marketplace because it's impossible. Every day something new pops up. I think that the answer is actually going to be dependent on your brand, what type of product you have, and where you want to expand globally. And let me in a second come back to why marketplaces are important for global expansion, right? I'll give you an example. Those oil filters, right? I'm not going to set up a website that's, how to sell oil filters, bestoilfilters.com. It doesn't make sense. But right off the back of that, I launched a line of cigar accessories, right? And when I'm looking at the way this is working, I've got this incredible wholesale opportunity for oil filters. I'm going to sell those very differently as cigar accessories. Cigar accessories, I started finding really cool e-commerce opportunities like subscription boxes. Right. So I ended up getting some of my cigar accessories into Bespoke Post, which is one of like the top accessory, subscription boxes out there, like cool manly stuff. Right. Where if I had kitchen accessories, it'd be completely different. So I feel like we need to go after low hanging fruit and we need to target audiences that are curated specifically for our product. And we look at two things: which marketplace is targeting a specific audience? All right, Wayfair. I'm not going to try to sell tennis shoes on Wayfair. I'm going to sell furniture and home accessories on Wayfair. Yep. Where if I have cool women's hair accessories, I need to be looking at marketplaces like Zulily. So to answer your question, two things that I look at. For marketplace sales, let me find a marketplace that is curated specifically for the type of product I'm selling, because it's going to be easy to sell, right? You throw it up there, you've already got the right audience. When I'm looking at traditional sales, like omni-channel opportunities, I start thinking about where the traffic comes from. Okay? If I'm selling a $5,000 hot tub, I'm not selling that on TikTok. It just ain't going to happen,
Sure.
Right? If I'm selling a $14 cool fidget spinner type gizmo, yeah, I'm looking at TikTok. So what I do is I create this matrix, and I think to myself, and I start literally whiteboarding this out. Where's going to be the easiest adoption? Because the truth is, we can't sell on every platform. We can't sell through every marketing platform. It's humanly impossible. And also, you got to think about the 80-20 rule, right? Yeah, I could go market this product on Zulily, but if it's going to be 3 sales a day, it's not worth my time, right? And I honestly feel like right now, this is very interesting and very controversial. Right now, I could be thinking about omni-channel sales, and I could be thinking about building the team to sell in more places. But I actually think it's easier, instead of selling my products to more places, to stay in the places where I know and sell more products.
Yeah, that actually leads me to my sort of follow-on question to all this, which I think you're already alluding to. Now obviously selling oil filters to the government. You probably weren't a big passionate oil filter guy before that. That's pure opportunism, which I'm also a fan of. But I do think if you're going to get into something where you're going to try to, if I was going to sell a good, I'm really into scuba diving, so I might get into scuba diving stuff. I'm really into sailing. I might get into sailing stuff. I'm probably not going to get into Barbie dolls because I've never played with a Barbie doll, right? And so I think you want to sell things, at least my personal take is, you've always wanted to sell things where you can get into the mind of the consumer who's going to buy it.
I halfway agree with you.
Okay.
And I'll tell you what I mean. I agree with that when it comes to traditional e-commerce sales, because of the dedication, the branding, the influencers, everything that it takes to actually generate that traffic. Like, I tell people all the time, you have to have a catalog before you can sell D2C. All right. Sure. I'm not going to set up a Shopify or Amoeba site with one product and then another site with another product. It doesn't make sense, right? But if I have a catalog of things, then I can set up the site. I can cross promote multiple items, shopping cart, all that good stuff. And if I'm building social, all that stuff, I want branding. I'm launching this year a line of fishing accessories, like saltwater fishing accessories. Like, I love that. That's great. That's going to be like my off-channel branding, or off marketplace branding, sales channels, all that stuff. I'll also sell on Amazon, but that's not our focus. Now, what's interesting about marketplaces, all right, Amazon, Walmart, whatever you're selling, although it sounds good, it's not necessarily, and I think it hurts you. And I'll tell you why. Is because if I come into Amazon and I'm selling an accessory, I'm selling a fishing accessory, those accessories may be very saturated based on the keywords, right? Because if I'm selling a fishing plier, it doesn't matter if I have the best fishing pliers in the world. The keyword fishing pliers is very saturated, right? Now, I can launch one fishing product and second product, and I can beat myself to death trying to find more fishing products to sell, where for the same amount of energy, effort, and time, I can just find other products that are in demand with no competition or little competition to sell easier. So what I do is, on marketplaces, I look for low-hanging fruit, and I don't care what the brand is. I don't care what the product is. I'm looking for keyword opportunities. And a lot of times that will generate a brand. So what will happen is I'll have this random accessory and this random accessory. And that I had a woman's shoe accessory that I sold for a number of years on Amazon. There's no point in branding it. Who cares? It sells 50 units a day. I don't have to touch it. It's easy. But I'm not interested in developing other women's shoe accessories, right? So I think that we have to break down, are we creating a brand over here, or are we just creating revenue over here on the marketplaces? They're two very different things that can actually work together, but it doesn't mean they have to work the same.
Yep. No, that makes sense to me. So let me ask you, let's jump back to your $30 million a year direct-to-consumer person in Miami who's scared of Amazon. So what was your advice to that seller? What would you tell anyone listening that you would tell that seller?
Well, this goes back to something I alluded to, which is global. All right. I said, okay, you don't want to sell on Amazon US. You're crazy, but all right, you don't have to. I think you're missing the boat. And, they gave me all the reasons why they shouldn't. Doesn't matter. But where they got interested was global expansion. Because if I said, all right, you're selling on Shopify, you need to also sell in Europe, they're not going to do it, because they start looking at the complexity of, oh my gosh, I got to get VAT registered. I got business entities, bank accounts. I got to figure out all these different, multi-language sales channels and marketing channels. And this place only uses Stripe. And this country, France, they have to have PayPal. And PayPal holds my funds. And it's just a complete nightmare, right?
Yep.
But I said, hey, Amazon right now is giving away money to take brands and set them up in Europe. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to connect you with this guy. I have his number, 206 area code Seattle, and he works on the U.S. to European expansion team. They will pay and facilitate your VAT registration in all of EU, essentially. Then they're going to give you free shipping credits to ship your inventory from your U.S. warehouse to Germany, where they will distribute it. They will do all of the translations for your listings. They will migrate, because they were selling some on Amazon, your existing reviews and get you started. And they said, oh, well, that makes sense, right? So there are places where marketplaces will give you an expansion opportunities that you would never go through. Now, once they get inventory there and they have their VAT and their business structure and all that set up, of course they're going to set up Shopify sites because all the hard work's done, right? So for them, what I'm telling them is, all right, if you won't take my advice on Amazon US, what about EU? What about Australia? Like Australia, you can ship your products from China to Australia super, super easily. It takes, 14 days. It ships over there. There's no VAT registration. You have to worry about nothing. By the way, Amazon Australia right now is giving free PPC credits, like $10,000 a month. If you're doing over $1 million a year right now in any platform, that's free money. Like, why wouldn't you do that?
Yep.
So it's not a clear-cut case of like, is a platform better or is an e-commerce store better? Like, it is this giant mixture of, well, this works good for here. Take advantage of this. Do this. Don't rely on this, but do, accelerate using this.
I mean, I would almost say that you're practically a life coach for e-commerce entrepreneurs, right? So what is? I mean, it's a combination of here's these dragons and don't be scared. But here's the low-hanging fruit. Here's how to make here's how to be strategically opportunistic. But here's also when you can have a brand explode on you. Sort of how do you lean into that vibe? What is, if you could sum up what is your core advice for your own success, I guess.
I think my core advice would be just get something started.
Yep.
And what's amazing about this world is, look, if you've been listening to this and you're not familiar with e-commerce, you're confused and you're scared because you're like, Tim just mentioned all sorts of crazy. Look, you don't have to tackle all of it. But what's crazy is there's never been a better time to be an entrepreneur than right now. Like, you think about the world, thousands of years, right? For thousands of years, commerce was done the same way. It was one person had one thing sold to their neighbors, maybe to their city, maybe to their neighborhood. That's it. And it's only the past 20 years that we've created this environment where anybody can sell anything to anyone with a cell phone in their pocket. Holy freaking crap. Never been a better opportunity, right? But what I see happening is people that, whether they might not have a good product idea. Drop shippers don't have good product ideas. They just know how to market. Affiliate marketers, they don't know how to sell anything, but they know how to influence people, right?
Yep.
Like, there's a million ways to get started in e-commerce. But what happens is people get so confused and so frustrated in this, paralysis by overanalysis and shiny object syndrome. It doesn't matter where you start. What's amazing about e-commerce right now is you can get started easily. Whether it's a little product on Zulily, eBay, Walmart, whether it's an affiliate marketing site, and then you eventually start selling your own products once you have that traffic. Like, there's a million ways to do it. And you can pivot massively, right? I started wholesale selling oil filters. Before I knew it, I was selling my own branded golf cart accessories and emergency preparedness kits, right? You can pivot quickly. But if you sit around trying to do all the research and learn everything all at once, like, I literally know people that have been going to big e-commerce conferences for 2 or 3 years. And they will straight up tell you, I've never even opened up an account anywhere. I've never even started a web. I'm still learning. I'm like, you freaking moron.
That's
You're going to learn more by trying. Look, this is crazy and this is very controversial. But when I see people that are stuck, and like, I have a mastermind group coaching program for Amazon sellers, right? And when I see people get stuck and they've been in this program for like 6 months, they're watching other people launch, they're like, I just can't decide. I tell them, go to Walmart, go to the Dollar General store, go to Dollar Tree, walk into the Dollar Tree and buy 20 of these and 20 of these. Stupid products, right? You're not going to make any money. Bundle them one and one, because now you've created a unique product, right? So I've got a bundle of this plastic dinosaur and this spatula. It's a unique product. It's all that matters. You're going to lose your butt. It doesn't matter. But now you've got 20 unique ASINs, unique products, and ship them into Amazon. Now, are you going to make money? No, but it'll walk you through the process of setting up a listing, turning on your PPC, making sure your keywords index, make sure you understand logistics. That will get you over the hump, because what's happening is you're seeing all these steps and you're terrified to take them. Go spend $40 at Dollar General, open up an Amazon account, and just get something listed.
Yeah, I mean, what you're describing is for $100 and 8 hours of effort, you get your own course on how to sell on Amazon.
Get your feet wet. You dip your toes in the water.
That back in the day, when I first took over Miva again back in the late 2000s, I used to tell people who were similar fear, grab something from your garage, go on eBay, take pictures of it, and sell it. What I also find is, as soon as you ship a product and get paid for it, if you have that entrepreneurial spirit, it's almost like a drug. You're going to do it again and again and again, and then that's from where your brand grows. Ultimately, I think we're touching on a bunch of things here. Tim's advice of just do something, get going, it probably is the best business advice anyone can ever give. That leads into this. Opportunity always comes from challenging, uncomfortable places. If you've never done something before, I don't care how brave and confident you are, it's a challenging, uncomfortable place. Take action, step up, and do it. And right now, we're in the middle of a new gold rush. The internet, even though e-commerce is 25-ish years old, we are still in the middle. We are in the early stages, if you will. And there is so much gold in those hills, and now is a great time to take it. Thank you for listening to us today. Tim, where can people find you?
Go to privatelabellegion.com. It's my online community for just brand builders, solopreneurs, e-com hustlers. So privatelabellegion.com. We also have the Facebook group, Private Label Legion.
Also, check out Tim's podcast, the AM PM podcast. Thanks, everyone, for listening. We'll talk to you soon.